Good morning, everyone. I'm Shreyanshi, and along with my co-host Sarabji, we are delighted to welcome you all to today's session on AI/ML in healthcare by Lipika Bhatt ma'am. She is an inspiring figure whose work sits at the exciting crossroads of artificial intelligence, digital health, and biomedical research. Currently a research associate at the Quetta Center for Digital Health, IIT Bombay, she brings a wealth of experience from international research exposure and a strong foundation in biomedical science to actively mentoring young minds through her initiative, Skills to Zen. Ma'am is truly the perfect person to guide students who are looking to explore and build a career in AI/ML, especially in the healthcare space. Welcome, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. I believe everybody's still joining. Should we wait for a minute or so?
Sure, ma'am. We can wait for 2, 3 minutes.
Okay, shall we begin?
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, please take us through your journey and expertise.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Shreyanshi, for the kind introduction. I've prepared a short presentation so we can discuss things in detail. I'll just share my screen. Give me a bit. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you so much for extending the invitation for having this talk. And I really want to applaud all of you because you guys are here on a Sunday and fairly within the morning. So, everybody would be wondering, oh my God, on a Sunday we are here. And I hope it's useful. So, I really hope that this helps you all. So, I would like to discuss some opportunities for AI ML in healthcare and how technology is transforming healthcare. So, quickly, let me give you an overview of what I plan to do today. So, first, I'll discuss shortly my journey in digital health. Why should we be using AI in healthcare? What is AI in healthcare? Some digital health use cases, some things that we do at IIT, some things otherwise, and the career paths in health tech. And I know that a lot of students have these questions with internships or what we should do or how we should join or get into this space. So I'm giving you a bonus slide and info on what kind of internships you could pursue and some skill building tips as well. So before I jump into the presentation, Can I quickly get a text on the, can you guys put in what stream you all are from in the chat, so I'll get a fair idea of what your background is? Can you guys just type in the chat box? Is, can you guys put a message? Okay, so I see CSC, Electronics and Communication Engineering. So mostly everybody's from the tech background, right? Yes. ECE. Okay, perfect. So that's good. You all have or are in. And what year are you all in? Second, first. Okay, so you have some time and you have some summers to do something, do some internships or contribute and build your CV. That's nice. That's great. Okay, so I'll jump into my journey first. So I'm Lipika Bhatt. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. And I completed my master's degree in biomedical sciences from NMIMS University in Mumbai. And I have some exposure in computational biology and health informatics. So just like you, from the very first year, I was into doing a lot of internships during every summer. I made it a point to join some of the other place, some of the other institute and get some exposure. So I got my first peek into computational biology when I joined IIT Bombay back in the second, third year. This was in and around during COVID. So that's when I got my peek into the health informatics space. Of course, I was doing omics that time, so the stream is slightly different, but we used a lot of AI that time, and that's when I got introduced to the world of AI. Then I was fortunate enough to bag a fully funded research internship at Canada. This was funded by MyTax. Of course, I think MyTax has paused their intakes this year or last year onwards, but I'll come into what internships you can target and probably look at. So this was another omics based project, but this was a little more towards the biomedical sciences. So I did internships in various little closely related but various different streams because I wanted to get an idea of what is available, what is out there, because you're academically you get to learn a lot of things, but as long as you are stuck in your academics you will have no idea what exactly is going out in the outside world. And in terms of applications, the applications are extremely vast and extremely different. So what you learn, you may actually have to apply and it may be slightly different as well. So it's very important for you guys to keep on doing some internships or short stints wherever possible. So during my master's thesis, I had the opportunity of working at Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital, where I got a peek into the hospital world and how the hospitals work and how we can integrate AI into their systems, into the hospital management system, understanding the workflows of how the hospital functions, and how we can automate a lot of things in the hospital or the hospital setting. Moving on, my master's thesis project was liked by the guides at IIT Bombay, and then I moved on and they absorbed me into their system. So I'm started doing my after completing my master's, I moved on to IIT to carry on the project. And by God's grace, this year our project received the Best Digital Technology Solutions Hospital Section Award at the Transforming Healthcare with IT. It's a conference that was held in Delhi, so it happens every year. So if you guys have the opportunity, maybe in the next years or something down the line, you can definitely attend such conferences to get a peek into the tech AI related with healthcare world. And last but not the least, I am also a co-founder of my small venture Skills to Zen. I have been mentoring a lot of students all through these years, but formally we've just started new as my own venture. So we work with skills and mind power coaching and trainings in not only industries and corporates, but also in the academic space. So now let's quickly jump on to the main topic of the discussion today, so that now that you know a little bit about me, I can move on to that. So today, in today's world, AI is practically used everywhere in every single vertical, be it retail, be it logistics, be it aviation, finance. So your applications are really wide, vast spread. But why should we be using AI in healthcare? So, first of all, there are a lot of life saving applications that have been upcoming in today's times, which can be used for disease predictions, assisting with surgery, speeding up discovery. So, even in COVID, you would have realized that a lot of research was speed fasted. Also, because there was a lot of assistance from AI, and eventually, I think that AI boom began in and around the COVID era only. Since we were all holed up at home, everybody started looking towards streams that were more AI focused because you could sit at home and do it, right? So eventually, all those applications started moving towards the healthcare industry as well. And now it's expected that by 2030, around $188 billion are going to be pumped into this AI healthcare space, which means it's a very profitable area and there will be a lot of growth opportunities and job opportunities in this sector. So it's expected that around 30 to 40% faster rate of jobs being available in this area. So you can definitely consider this stream. So now that you know why AI in healthcare, let me move on to understanding what is AI in healthcare. So now, since all of you almost here have a tech related background, I don't need to explain the tech side of it to you guys. So you know that artificial intelligence, in simple words, is making machines think like humans. So if you want them to think like humans, why don't we use and leverage that idea and that space into the healthcare area and make them think like doctors maybe? So some of the few verticals in this area could include, they're not limited to this, but these are few top ones from this vertical, include diagnosis assistance or helping with healthcare data management, and security breach is one major concern in healthcare. So that is another very booming area of interest that you can look at and consider. Then there also comes predicting complications, because with the limited resources it's difficult for doctors to look at all patients at once. So automation in that area also has a lot of prospects. Clinical decision support, this again assists the doctors with making decisions, with maybe choosing what drugs to use, etc. Disease surveillance and population health analytics, this works more on the larger scale, using large and big data available in probably an area, trying to figure out how many patients are afflicted with malaria, etc. So these are all population based studies. So all of these fall into the bracket of healthcare, AI in healthcare. So some of the technologies which you guys would be very comfortable with by the end of your degree would be use of machine learning and data, deep learning, NLP, computer vision, LLM. So all of these have applications in healthcare in some or the other space. So now let me move on to some applications in healthcare with some use cases and also a couple of projects that we also work at IIT. So let me just give you a quick brief. So when we look at a disease, we can look at it from three major perspectives. It can be from diagnosing or identifying the disease. It can be from prognosing or exactly looking at what and pointing out that this is the particular disease. So that will be prognostics. And then treating the disease. So these are the three main verticals with any disease or morphology or anything. So you can have AI applications in all three of them, and they can be vastly different. So when we look at diagnostics, it can be at the level of assisting with analyzing scans or slides. Scans as in your CT scans, your MRIs, your ECGs. So those are all image analysis related questions. Again, with slides, you will have a lot of times you're giving your blood for testing, they will put it on a slide. So that all of that work is manually done, which is very labor intensive. So you can automate all of these, and this is one area of diagnosis that you can consider. And again, skin images, all of this in the dermatology space also, it's used with diagnostics. So all of these help in supporting faster and more accurate diagnosis. By automating it, you're reducing the workload of the healthcare community. So some of the use cases that we have currently are, we are working on a project for AI and skin lesion classification using images from the lesions, skin lesions. And we're also looking at maybe formulating a chat bot which can, help in all the urban areas, because most of the healthcare reach in urban areas, rural areas, I'm sorry, is very limited. So that is one project that we are doing with Ines Ashwini. And then we have another project which is AI power tool for identifying advanced stage Hodgkin's lymphoma using PET CT and pathology images. Apart from that, there are a lot of multimodal data related analysis and tools and projects that we also have. So this is the diagnostics area of the disease morphology. Coming to the prognostics, this is identifying health conditions early. So with a lot of times for the doctors, identifying diseases, or generally most of the disease implications or morphologies or symptoms come up much, much later. So what we can do is we can take a lot of data from the patient, do a retrospective study and find out, use AI ML here again, using algorithms that can find out or identify all of these symptoms or related disorders early, much earlier than they were already onset or when the doctors could identify it. So this will help with early interventions, proactive care, and optimizing resources, because a lot of resources get used up when there are severe complications with a patient's life and health. So some of the use cases is early identification of AKI, which is a project that I've worked with, and implementation of an alert system for which we got an award at the conference. So this is one of the use cases where we are identifying if a patient has acute kidney injury or no. The other problem or the other use case is development of a ML based web application. So if you see, a lot of this healthcare related work is a lot to do with AI. I mean, you can be associated with the core AI part of it, but you need to know some of the healthcare from all of this. So development of an ML based web application. So web application is another idea which you guys will be more comfortable working with. And this project was done during COVID. It was a online web tool for identifying severity of COVID in hospitalized patients. So now we are done with two aspects of the disease. We are done with diagnostics and we are done with prognostics. Am I going too fast or the pace is all right?
It's fine, ma'am.
So now that we are done with two aspects, that is the diagnostics and the prognostics, let's move on to the treatment. So with treatment now, because of the omics, are you guys aware about omics technologies, proteomics, genomics? Have you heard of it? You may not be knowing the details, but hello,
Ma'am, could
can
you
you hear
go
me?
into a bit of detail on this part?
Detail, okay. I actually want to cover a lot of things with internships and all. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what all is available. So maybe if you have some specific questions, we can address it towards the end. But like, I just want to give you an overview what kind of applications or use cases are available.
Ma'am, actually, I was talking about the terms that you just mentioned.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You're talking about omics, genomics. Okay, okay. Yeah, I get it. So currently, so everybody knows the very, very basics of proteins and genomes and genes. So with genes, you have a gene sequence, right? So with every change in one gene, there will be some kind of a disorder or disease related to that. So this area of finding which gene is missing and that can cause which disease, that has a lot of importance to play, because you get a lot of data. You may be getting a data set of maybe 1,000 patients, 2,000 patients, and each patient's DNA sequence you will be getting, which is ATGC like sequence. So when you get this large amount of data, you have to try and figure out what is missing in how many patients, if there is some particular gene that is missing in all patients, which will be contributing. So all that will be requiring your AI related support system. So all this omics space, of course, you will be requiring or a need understanding of healthcare more if you want to go for the treatment or precision omics space. But this is picking up a lot because in this niche there are very few people working. So you can consider this as a career option. So one is customization of treatment plans based on the genetic history, environment. So you get a lot of data, multimodal data again in this space. Or there are a lot of drug discovery based projects as well in which AI/ML is used. But this is more of MD simulation, where you try to understand the binding frequency or how well the drug and the the cells interact. A lot of different simulation related work can also be done with AI application. So some use cases in this area are pharmacogenomics. So you'll be getting a genomic data and you will get a lot of other clinical data of the patient. You'll have to put it together and see how that is impacting a particular genetic background of the individual. So this is drug dose optimization based on genetic background. So probably if some gene is missing, certain drugs will work better for these patients for that missing gene. Whereas if for another patient who has some XYZ gene, another kind of drug would be working. So all these kind of studies can be done with AI in mind. And another, then another use case is the use of ML approaches to identify proteome networks and markers in triple negative breast cancer. So proteomics is a study of proteins. So just like we have genes, you'll have a set of proteins. So this will again be some amino acid like codes. So amino acids have all these codes, right? X, leucine, glycine, they all have single word, or they have these codes. So you'll get a list of link of all of those. Then this is similar to the genomics. So of course the omics space has a lot of work that you can manage to do. And so this was with in terms of treatment with the disease identification, then finding out different omics technologies and integrating all that data and forming a project. So this is another perspective. So we got done with diagnosis, we got done with prognosis, and then we looked at treatment. So this is overall when it comes to a disease space in healthcare. Then apart from this disease space, there is another space which is the hospital operations. So in this, the major areas in which you could work was triage or bed management or the automation of the electronic health records or health record systems. So this is more to do with logistics. You'll have to know very basic healthcare when it comes to this, because this kind of healthcare is more to do with logistics and how the hospital works, the functioning, all that kind of space. So helps with decision making, clinical decision support systems. So all of these fall under the hospital operations space. So one use case could be using NLP and LLM to form like a model to extract and summarize patient clinical notes. So most of these clinical notes are either in the written format or will be free flowing text. So if there is a patient who has been admitted for a long period of time, there will be like a 20-pager discharge summary which has all the information that this patient was admitted from so and so time, was giving this drugs. So what the project would ideally want to do is extract all this information, specific information, drug related information, or some information on what imaging procedure was done. So all these kind of problems fall under this purview. Now, apart from these applications, there will obviously be more applications, for example, in the security space. Because these days, whenever you get hospitalized, you may have an insurance agency that you connect with. So all your personal information is going to all these healthcare institutes and all these, big companies. So to prevent the data leaks from this space, there is a lot of work going on into how you can anonymize all this information. So when you are giving a lot of patient data, may be it clinical data, be it these images, any kind of data, your name tag will always be there along with that. So that needs to be anonymized. So this security space is also another good space where you can use your AI related applications in this security division of healthcare. So now I have given you a quick overview of what these AI applications are there in healthcare. But now I want to move on a little towards the career paths in digital health. So these are few of the top questions that students always ask. So I wanted to touch briefly on this area as well. So where can you work? So of course, this will be probably 1 or 2 years down the line after you're done with grad. but then you can undergrad or grad, whatever, but you can also consider these for your internships. So where can you work? You can work at bigger hospitals. There are a lot of chain of hospitals that have big IT teams where you can be a part of those. Or if you want to choose academics, you can be associated with research institutes. There are a lot of them today. You can also look at health startups. Health tech startups are also booming these days. And because of the Ayushman Bharat, all the NGOs that are pumping in all the corpus into this space, so health tech startups are also picking up. Next is bigger pharma and biotech companies. Of course, if you are joining pharma and biotech companies, you may want to know a little more healthcare related data or more core biology apart from knowing your domain knowledge in AI. And last but not the least, there are also a lot of NGOs like WHO. There are a lot of global health organizations that are doing work in this area. So you can try and reach out to those as well. Now, which roles you can fit into? You can fit into as a AI researcher. You can work as a clinical data analyst. Generally, after your grad, you join as an analyst and then you move on to a scientist. So that's the career progression for most. If you want to, you can also join as a bioinformatician. The only hitch here is that when it comes to bioinformatics, you need to know a lot of more biology. So you can up yourself with that by doing other courses. I will come to that as well. And last but not the least, there are other project manager, sales related space in the health tech area as well, in which you will have to have basic domain knowledge of AI as well as healthcare. So with that, you will have to have a lot of other skills like your communication skills, leadership skills, all of those. If you're good at those, then you should definitely look at some of the managerial roles because it will also be more lucrative. Now, what can you do? So, as students, of course, you have a lot of domain knowledge with AI, but you can look at healthcare focused online courses. So, there are a lot of places where you can do these. There are places like Udemy, there is Coursera, and also if you want to do some from something from some nationalized places, there's something called Neptel and Swayam. Are you guys aware of Neptel and Swayam? Yes. So, they also have a lot of these courses. So I think the intake for these currently are closed. I'm not sure, but you can definitely keep an eye on their website. There's a final course list which I can share with you guys if you wish to. There they have a long list of courses, and maybe you can take some basic courses from there, which are I think a few weeks long. So you get a peek into what biology you will be requiring if you want to move into this healthcare related space. Next is you can publish your learnings and be seen on a lot of bigger websites because there are a lot of times recruiters find you through these sites as well. So you can maybe start your own blog or you can publish on Medium. You can also put on LinkedIn because you'll be seen more with that. Or you can start a mini project. Since you have your summers coming in, there will obviously be students who will want to do things. So you can start your own project. You can do it independently. You can ask your mentors at the colleges. They are more than happy to help you a lot of times. Or you can get into a group of 2 or 3 and then work together. There are a lot of things. Data sets are easily available. You will know there is Kaggle. There are a lot of different things that you can do. Also, if you guys wish to get into the academic space, you should be thinking about writing papers, start publishing. Of course, that will take some time. I don't know if you guys have some course as a part of your curriculum for writing a paper or designing a project. Do you have that?
No, ma'am, not currently.
Okay. But you can, I think there's a short course on Coursera as well which you can probably refer to because there are times when you want to do something for the summer and you've not got an internship. That happens, that's okay. So you can start doing that by yourself. There is something called meta analysis that you can do where you collect a lot of papers, put all the findings together, analyze the odds ratios. So that is one thing you can do. You can also write a review article where you read a lot of different papers and put the findings together, put your understanding into it, that you know what you have learned from taking all these maybe 20, 40, 50 papers together. So that's another thing that you can consider doing. Or then of course you can join an organization. So since your summers will be beginning, I thought let me put in some opportunities which you can consider. So if you want to look at some academic research labs, there are a lot of IITs that have these healthcare space openings. There is AI for Health at IIT Madras. If you guys want to take a screenshot of this, feel free to do that. I'm okay with it. So there is DBT ISC Bioinformatics Center. There will be much more. These are just few that I've put in as some examples that you can consider. There is NIMHANS, there is Triple IT Hyderabad, ICMR. Most of these places have some or the other healthcare related AI space that they are into. So they will be probably having openings. They may probably, you can write to some professors if you like their work. First, try to find the niche that you will personally like and enjoy. So then it begins from there. So these are few research labs. There are some digital health startups. You can of course look up online. These are some of the examples like Healthflix, Doozy does a lot of tool web related work as well, which is more to do with bedside applications. So that is Doozy. There is Cure AI, and also there are some global programs, but I think that the global programs, they have quite strict deadlines, so you would probably have missed it because the deadlines for these are generally towards the end of the year. So there is that which happens in Germany, Amgen Scholars, AI for Good fellowships. So all these have lengthy application processes and they begin much in advance, but you can of course get in touch with a lot of research labs, independent labs. You can write to them, so they will be able to give you a fair idea. The other thing that you can do is reach out to mentors through either online LinkedIn. You can find a lot of opportunities on Google Jobs. There is completely different where if you can Google search on Google, then there will be a space where on Google Jobs you can find internship opportunities as well. The other thing that you can do is write cold emails, and I can't emphasize enough on how much cold emails makes a difference. It will take a lot of time for you to curate maybe a mail and find out about the lab and write a mail to a professor, but a lot of response. They may be happy if you want to join them and learn more about their work and explore your interests as well. And last is joining health tech communities. There are a lot of health tech communities online on LinkedIn as well, where a lot of people publish their work. They publish their Python files where you can go and see what kind of work they're doing, how something is being analyzed. If you want to understand what kind of omics data they are using, you will get a peek into that as well. So this is about the internship and AI space. And I would like to stop on the note of saying technology does change fast, but compassion and curiosity, that is timeless. So with that, I would like to open the forum for any questions that you may be having or anything that you would like to discuss.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a great insight. I would like to pass on the session now to my co-host Sarabjit for the further Q&As.
Sure.
Thank you, Sriyanshi, and thank you, ma'am, for the total introduction of that. I literally prepared many questions, but it seems that you have answered most of them. But
Yes.
still, ma'am, if you can, if you have done an internship in Canada, ma'am, can you explain that, explain more on that, and how can student like us can prepare for that and go into those fields?
Okay, so I worked at MyTax. I mean, I got recruited through MyTax. So just like MyTax, there are a lot of other internship opportunities, global internship opportunities. Like there is DAD in Germany. There are a lot of different. So first, you have to, of course, narrow down on what subject or topic you want to do in. You must have some prior experience before applying to these because they're extremely competitive, and since they are fully funded, you will have to demonstrate some past experience or maybe some college projects or something that you do on the side. You will have to show as experience when you are applying for these. Secondly, since it's a summer thing and since you're in your first or second year, you still have some time. They generally accept students only in the penultimate year. So if your degree is of a 4 year duration, you can apply when you complete your 3 years. So the summer between the third and the fourth year, you can apply that time. So since you all are in your first, second year, I believe by the end of this year, you can keep an eye on the deadlines, etc. for this. So you will be requiring recommendation letters. You will be needing to build your CV in a way which puts your best foot forward. They have projects put up on their sites sometimes, or you may have to come up with a project proposal by yourself. So in any case, depending on which professors, first you have to narrow down on the country as well. So every country has a different program. There are some universities that have summer schools by themselves. Like if you look up a lot of US based universities, they have summer schools for 3 months. But I'm not very sure if all of them will be funded. There are some that have full funding, but currently due to the funding crunch and all in USA, you'll have to just figure out after some time if the funding crunch is getting released, because currently they have issues for the people who are recruited, for the people who are working there full time as well. So in terms of internships, you'll have to like figure out slowly. By the end of the year, you have that time. So I think by August they open up, so you can keep an eye on these websites. So that's one. In terms of preparation, of course, now if you want to do in the healthcare space, you'll have to look at the projects. A lot of times they put up the projects which they have openings for. So if that's the case, then they'll put up a small abstract which you can go through, read some papers, see if you like that. So that's about it on how you can get into. So did that answer your question, or should I add something more?
No, ma'am, it surely did. Another question that I would like to ask is how important is domain knowledge, like biology or medicine, when it comes to applying AI on health informatics or bioinformatics?
So I was making a mention of omics, right? So omics is a space where you will need a lot of domain knowledge. Or if something like bioinformatics, if you want to do, you will require a lot of domain knowledge, because there you are actually finding the application. I mean, you're looking at the medical application of it, where you are looking at what gene, what protein, how it's affecting. So there you will need a lot of domain knowledge. But apart from that, if you're looking at automation related work in healthcare, or you're looking at public health related work in healthcare, that includes a lot of general data. For example, age, sex, those kind of general demographic based data. You may have some clinical data which has numbers. You will have some categorical data. So for that, you may not need a lot of domain knowledge. Now this will differ from project to project. There will be certain projects where the PI may expect you to have a lot of domain knowledge because it is deep application. So it'll of course make a difference with that as well, so that as and when you go along you can do so. But that's why I said, so for the students who want to get into this space, you can probably take up some short courses online, or you can go through a lot of YouTube videos. You can pick up a small project in that space which you can do. So it will give you an idea of how much domain knowledge you need to up yourself to, if you have to get into this area. So that's yeah.
Yes, right. So another question, someone in the comments asked that what are the current limitations of using LLMs in clinical decision support systems?
Clinical decision support system. So with LLMs, a lot of times it does not give you the correct results or responses. Even with Chat GPT, you would have seen it has only limited amount of data. So a lot of times in annotation, manual annotation is required. So you can't directly completely rely on the results that LLMs give you these days. So with this, there is a lot of validation that goes into when a model is prepared. I mean, you can't directly apply it. There will be some post processing that goes on. There'll be a lot of interim work that you need to train the corpus or the model with some data prior hand before you use it as a direct application. So direct application generally does not happen. There goes a lot of pre-processing, training the model with the corpus that we have. For example, there will be some center that is specific to kidney diseases. So then you will be putting in all the information of probably a lot of patients. You will be teaching the model that this is the kind of work we are doing. So only look at these things. So it's not completely reliable. There are a lot of limitations in that sense as well.
So like to sum it up, we need to have a proper training set, validation, and like fine tune the data to have the answer we requested, right?
Yes, of course. Yes, yes, that's required. Because it may give a lot of results, incorrectly annotated results. So for example, now we have one research question where we are looking at some of the, if I have a clinical notes of a patient, okay, and I want to I give this whole set of clinical notes into the LLM, and I ask the LLM to find out if the patient has undergone some contrast based imaging procedures. There are a lot of imaging procedures, but some, for example, like CT require contrast. So the LLM is not able to identify or differentiate between any procedure that has been using contrast or that hasn't used. So this is one of the example. So you have to actually manually look and annotate and find and tell the LLM or teach the LLM, train the LLM, saying that these are the ones that do and these don't. But still, a lot of times it can give ambiguous responses. So direct application in that way is slightly difficult.
Right. And I would encourage any other who would like to ask questions, please unmute yourself and ask. I guess ma'am would be more than happy to answer your
Yes,
queries.
yes, of course. And if you want
Yeah.
to connect with me, you can definitely connect with me over LinkedIn. You can get in touch with me via email, or we've recently just, I like I mentioned, I've been doing a lot of mentoring with a lot of students, but I'm slowly building up my own entity as well. So if you've liked this, you can drop in a Google review as well.
Ma'am, can you explain or can you elaborate on the work that you just said the skills design?
Yeah.
That's what it is, right?
Yes, yes, it's skills to send. So we do a lot
Yeah.
of mentoring thing with not only with students, with academics, with academicians, but also in industry and corporates as well. We do a lot of mind power trainings where you can use your subconscious mind to leverage the powers of the subconscious minds to achieve success. This can not only be used by a lot of students, but in general for stress free living. It has a lot of applications in a lot of ways where you can achieve success. A lot of times you feel that I'm working so hard but I'm not getting the results. So how you can use and train your mind to achieve what you want to. So that is one aspect that we cover. And the other section that we do is I work with students closely to help them with internships, find what they like, give like career guidance, maybe help you with, with your CV building, etc. So that's another space that we also look at. How you can find what you like. So that's called career ikigai, finding what you like to do in your career basically. So that those are a couple of things that we do with my entity.
Ma'am, just as you said you help in resume building, ma'am, can you share like how students can stand out in their resume or interview for roles in research or applied AI?
Okay, so this is actually a very, very broad question. So, first of all, since you guys are in your first, second year, you have to start thinking in the lines of how you will up yourself. So of course building in your CV includes, how you write it also matters. I believe you might be having another few talks etc on this probably, but this is actually something that will take a long time. So let me summarize it. So since you guys are early on in your career, you will, whenever you approach someone, you have to put in like the kind of experience you have. So as a part of your course, if you have done some projects, you'll definitely be having some projects, right, in every class or every semester. So you can add value to those, to take those and probably build a little more on that, try something a little bit of your own, so that helps you put into your CV. So everybody, once you graduate, you all are equals, right? How will you stand out from that? So for that you will have to put in some effort to look different. So if you do some project, if you're given some small project as a part of your coursework, you can probably build on that, take some external data set, work on it, show some other application, so that happens to be your personal project and that adds to your personal portfolio. So that's some things you can do. Something like I mentioned, writing review articles, this is something very doable. So having a paper publication when you graduate is a very big thing because it's difficult for students to do that, right? So review articles are, it's not simple. You will have to spend some time, of course, and learn the art of writing. But this is something that you can do by yourself or in a group of two or three, where you guys can put together a lot of papers, find out insights, put in all of those together in a paper. So that will help you increase your edge over the others. So those are some things that you can do. So that's something that I can think of offhand right now
So
to
like
summarize.
mainly, so like mainly feel the interest, like the field of interest, publish some papers, read the research works to get
Yes,
some edge over the others.
yes, of course. Because that's how you will stand out, right? At the end of it, all the CVs are going to look alike. Everybody has the same BTech degree. So, what is going to make you different is all this extra experience that you do. So, every summer, I urge you guys, you should do some of the other internship. This will definitely put you much ahead from the rest. So, that's something you must do.
Yes. And so again, I would like to ask if anybody else would like to ask any questions, just raise hand or you can directly unmute and ask. Or you can drop in the comments.
Yeah,
Anything.
or you can also connect with me if you guys feel comfortable that way. We can have a conversation over that as well.
Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I have a question. I am from third year from Triple IT Bhagalpur Computer Science branch, and
Okay.
I have done till DevOps, and right now I am learning AI. But I have some issues like if my placement session will be starting from July, and will it be okay if I do ML right now and complete it till now July, and then apply for ML internship also? Or
Yeah,
should I
that's
focus
perfect.
on what I have covered already, like the till the DevOps part?
What are you liking? What are your likes? Do you have you started learning ML? Do you enjoy it?
Like basically, what I love is doing DevOps CI/CD pipelines, and I have not deep dive into that much into ML, but the amount of time I have put in ML, like I love that time, and I have like I have enjoyed the process of learning ML.
Then you can definitely work in that direction. That's absolutely okay. See, now I have also had a background in biomedical sciences, but I did take a plunge into AI. So you can, as long as you have that curiosity, as long as you can convince the opposite person that you can do it and you can actually do it, then they will take you in. I don't think that should ever be a problem.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Any
Any
other?
other questions? Sorry for interrupting, ma'am.
No worries. If you guys want a picture of this, I can leave this on as well. So, in case there are a lot of other programs also, but these are some of the top programs that are people discuss about. So, I just put them here.
It seems question are at end. Ma'am, if you don't mind, we would like to wrap up the session.
Sure, yes. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
ma'am.
I'll just one thing. If in case somebody wants, I'll just share the link for Swayam and Neptel courses, so you can look at these in case anybody wants it. So they have a lot of courses running. I think the current session is already the booking, the registrations, I believe, have closed for now. But you can keep an eye on their website. It's, I think, Swayam Central, Neptel. So they have a lot of these courses for basics, basic biology for MLs or for engineers. They may have some course like that which you can probably take up. So that will help you guys navigate better. And I
Ma'am,
will.
can we have your LinkedIn so that if
Oh
we have
yes,
can issue,
sure,
so
sure,
that
sure. You can get in touch here. You can definitely write to me, drop in a message. I'll be more than happy to get in touch with you.
very thankful for you, ma'am, for doing
Thank
this.
you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my work and give you a tiny bit into what AI and ML
Sure,
can
sure, ma'am.
help and apply into this. I'll also
Ma'am, the
share.
pleasure was was all ours.
Yes, thank you. For the CV and all, you may have to have a complete, like a proper session, because that does take a lot of time to like get into the specifics and break down everything. Yeah, I think someone has a question. Okay, so we can work towards that as well. So yeah, with that, thank you so much. I will also put in my Google review link. If you guys liked it, you can please drop in a review there. I'm still starting out new here officially with my venture, but you can definitely get in touch and we can discuss anything further that you wish to get to know.
Thank you, ma'am. On
Yes.
behalf of the Training and Placement Cell, we sincerely thank you for such an insightful and inspiring session. Your journey and expertise in AI and healthcare gave us all a fresh perspective and a lot to think about. We truly appreciate your time and valuable knowledge you shared with us today. Thank you once again. We look forward to such more interesting sessions in future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking out some time on Sunday.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.